We all know that teaching has changed over the last few years, but it kind of feels like the people in charge of education did not get that memo. We have even more demands and requirements. We also know as classroom teachers, we need to have a life-work balance. But how do we actually do that when our to-do list never stops growing? That's why I'm sharing some of my tried and true productivity tips to get things done so you can leave at a decent time. If you're new here, I'm Rachel Vincent, and I love sharing ways to help teachers simplify their classrooms and their teaching. So the number one thing that helped me to be more productive during the school day, during my planning time, so that I did not have to work as much after school hours, was to theme my days. Most teachers love a good theme. We love things to kind of fit together nicely in this box. So theming my planning periods just made sense to me. I have one day that is my planning day. Well, to be quite honest, I have a couple days that are my planning days because planning takes a long time. I will say that if you're new to a grade level, new to teaching, new curriculum, like all that kind of makes things take longer. But once you get that process and you can begin to repeat it year after year, it does get easier. So I know that there are circumstances out there where if you're a brand new teacher, of course it's a new grade level and new curriculum, like everything just takes longer. But I now can get it down to where my planning really only takes me 1 or 2 planning periods. So there is hope that you can get there. What really helps me is to have a pacing guide, knowing what's coming next makes planning so much easier, so I can be thinking ahead to when my unit is finishing, what unit comes next, or even just what lessons are coming next if you're not following a curriculum day by day. I do have a free pacing guide for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade that I will link below if you would like to have that for yourself. Another one of my themes is a communication day. That's the day that I am going to write my weekly email to parents, update our newsletter, update my class website, whatever kind of information that needs to be updated, added to, communicated to parents, getting their Thursday folders ready to go home, like those types of things, like that is what one day is for. I don't enjoy choosing one day just to grade because it gets monotonous to me. So I personally like to grade a little bit each day. But I know some people like to sit down and knock it all out. So choosing a grading day is a great theme to choose where that's going to be the day that you're getting all the grading done. Because I grade a little bit each day, I do record the grades on paper, and then I have a certain day where I go and enter them into our online grading book. The idea of this is just to do what works best for you. Sometimes it's trial and error, figuring out what works best with your brain and your school and schedule. So give it a try. Take Monday as your communication day, and Tuesday as your lesson planning day, and Wednesday as your copy day, and Thursday as your grading day, whatever you want to do, or mix it up. But the idea here is that what you're doing is batching your work so that your brain stays focused on, okay, I am just lesson planning. So if I am doing a little bit before school, during my planning, a little bit after school, it's all on the same thing instead of jumping around to all the different things that we have to do. Of course, things come up, happens all the time in education. And so the best thing about teachers is we're flexible and we just monitor and adjust. The next biggest time saver and helps with productivity is to delegate. And I know that can be hard for some of us, but delegating really does save us time. One of the things that I began to delegate was to my students in the afternoons, having them do some of the things that I found myself doing every day, like changing the date, updating our reminders board, resetting the lunch numbers. Like those things don't really need my time. Is it done to the expectation that I would want every single time or that I would do every single time? Absolutely not. But it gives students ownership in the classroom and frees you up to be doing other things. The next thing is parent volunteers. And I know that not every community has the kind of parent involvement that other schools do. So use what you can. There were some years where I didn't have any parent volunteer, and I sometimes would get my mom to come in and help me when I really needed it. But I have been there where I've had 0 parent volunteers and had to do it. And I think because I had so many years like that in the beginning of my teaching, it actually made it hard for me when I found a school that had parent volunteers to give some of that over. Once I started doing it and seeing the benefit that it made for me, I have never looked back. So one of the biggest ones is the most helpful is finding somebody to do my copies. I don't know what it is about copies. I think it's because you're standing there waiting for the copy machine to work, and my mind is thinking about all the other million things I could be doing during that time. So sometimes I would bring papers to grade while that was happening, but it just still felt like a waste of my time to wait for the copy machine. So giving that to a parent volunteer was one of the best decisions I made. I am now at a school and I am so thankful and so lucky to have the PTA parents that we do. They set up a copy parent for us every year for our whole grade level, and I'm so thankful for that. But if I didn't have that, I would still ask a parent who could come in. But even simple things as like filing or cutting and laminating, things that take time from us where we could be doing other tasks that a parent can do just as good. It's one of those things that if you don't ask, you'll never know if somebody is available to do it. Most often, parents aren't able to come into school, and so asking them to send in things or do things at home if they're available, send stuff home, make a little bag with instructions, and send it home and have them bring it back in when they're able to. But if they can come in to, maybe there's a parent that loves setting up bulletin boards, think about the things that you don't enjoy doing as a teacher and see if you can find a parent who wouldn't mind doing those things. And the number one thing that saves the most time, because it's one of the things that takes up the most time, is dividing lesson planning amongst your grade level. Out of all the schools that I've had where I've had other grade level members, we have split the planning in some way, and that truly saves the most time. If you have some members who don't want to do that, find the ones that do, because I guarantee that there's somebody on your grade level, on your team, that wants to do less work and share the planning. Now, I did work at a school where I was the only third grade teacher, so I had to do it all, and it is so time consuming, but I found ways to help myself through that. And that's when I created my weekly to-do list that helped me through my planning, because I knew I had to schedule my time of how I was going to plan and when I was going to plan to get it all done. I had to figure out what were the most important things that had to get done each week, and then what were some of the things that it'd be nice to get them done, but if it doesn't happen, it's okay. And so once I figured that out, I was able to schedule that out for my before, during, and after school. And it's okay to stay after school or beyond contract hours to get work done. You just don't want to stay every single day for hours and hours. Stay that 15, 20, 30 minutes to knock out a few things so that you can go home and feel good about what you got accomplished at school. And one of the things when I have a lot to do, I definitely did this when I was the only teacher on my grade level, but busy times of the year, back to school, end of the year, parent conference time, those parts of the year where it just has extra work to do, I will choose one day that week that's going to be my late day. Now, if you're an early bird, make it your early day where you come in early. That is not me. I would rather stay after school and knock it out than to come in early and do it. I would look at my schedule and see what day could I stay that I didn't have meetings, that I could stay and get the things done that I needed to get done. And choosing that one day freed me up to not feel guilty and be okay with leaving on time the other days of the week. But just remember that teaching is a never-ending to-do list. We always have more to do. There's always something else we can do. And if we're just like, well, I'm going to stay till this time every day, and you don't actually have those important tasks that you need to do, you're just filling the time. And so you are saying yes to school things and no to your personal and home life. So if you're just picking a time and just staying because that's what you've always done, you're always going to find things to do, and because there's always something to do. So we have to be okay with knowing that we have done enough for today, or we are doing enough as a teacher. We have to let go of some of that perfectionism that we have, because I know most teachers tend to have that, to where they want the lesson or the activity to look a certain way. And sometimes we even have to let go of some of those traditions of things that we have always done with our students, but we just don't have the time or the mental capacity to do that this year. And it's okay. It hurts us because we have done it for so many years, or we've always done it. But our students, this is their first year in our classroom, so they don't know what they're missing out on because they have never done it. So it is okay to let some of those things go. In order to be the best teacher and the best person for our life, we've got to be okay with letting some of these things go and finding a balance between our teaching and our personal lives. If you want even more productivity tips, check out the video that's on your screen now where I share some of my best time-saving tips for lesson planning.